Sarah Martinez clutched her boarding pass with trembling fingers as she rushed through Chicago O'Hare International Airport. Gate B12 felt like a marathon away, and her connecting flight to Denver was boarding in just 12 minutes. After 18 months of unemployment, she finally had a job interview that could change everything. The marketing position at Cloud Tech Solutions wasn't just a job, it was her lifeline back to financial stability, her chance to keep her small apartment, and most importantly, her opportunity to afford her younger brother Miguel's college tuition. Her sneakers squeaked against the polished terminal floor as she dodged between travelers pulling oversized suitcases. The weight of her laptop bag bounced against her hip, reminding her of the carefully prepared presentation slides inside. She'd spent countless nights perfecting every detail, researching the company's history, memorizing their core values. This interview wasn't just about her anymore, it was about Miguel's dreams of becoming the first doctor in their family. That's when she saw him. An elderly man in a faded navy blue suit sat hunched over in a wheelchair near gate B8, his weathered hands shaking as he tried to dial a number on an old flip phone. His silver hair was disheveled, and Sarah could see tears streaming down his deeply lined face. Airport staff bustled around him, but everyone seemed too busy to notice his distress. Sarah's feet slowed despite the urgency pounding in her chest. She checked her watch, 8 minutes until boarding ended. She could make it if she kept running. But something about the man's defeated posture pulled at her heart like a magnet. Her father's voice echoed in her memory from years ago when she was just 10 years old. They'd been walking past a homeless veteran outside their church in San Antonio, and young Sarah had wanted to keep walking. Her father had gently taken her hand and said, "Mija, sometimes God puts people in our path not to test them, but to test us. The question isn't whether you have time to help, it's whether you have the heart to stop." Sarah stopped running. She approached the elderly man slowly, kneeling beside his wheelchair. Up close, she could see his hands trembling weren't just from emotion, they shook with what looked like Parkinson's disease. His kind brown eyes were clouded with cataracts, and when he looked up at her, she saw a depth of sadness that made her chest tighten. "Excuse me, sir, are you okay? Can I help you with something?" The man's voice came out in a shaky whisper. "I'm trying to call my daughter, but I can't see the numbers clearly anymore. I missed my connection to Portland, and I don't know what to do. The airline counter is so far away, and I can't will myself there alone." Sarah glanced at her watch. 5 minutes. Her heart raced, but she took the phone from his trembling hands. "What's your daughter's number?" As he recited the digits, Sarah noticed a small American flag pin on his lapel, the kind given to military veterans. Her own grandfather had worn one just like it. She dialed the number, but it went straight to voicemail. "She's probably at work," the man said, his voice breaking. "She doesn't know I missed my flight. I was supposed to be there for my grandson's birthday tomorrow. He's turning 7, and I promised him I'd be there. I haven't seen him in 2 years because of my health." Sarah heard the final boarding call for her flight echo through the terminal. Gate B12 felt like it was on another planet now. She looked at this stranger, really looked at him, and saw her own grandfather in his eyes. She remembered how Abuelo used to light up when family visited, how he'd count the days until the next reunion. The choice crystallized in that moment with startling clarity. "Sir, what's your name?" "Henry. Henry Washington." "Mr. Washington, I'm Sarah. Let's get you to the airline counter and figure this out together." As Sarah stood to push his wheelchair, Henry grabbed her wrist gently. "Wait, young lady. Don't you have somewhere important to be? I saw you running." Sarah's throat tightened as she watched her boarding pass flutter slightly in her trembling hand. 24 hours of preparation, 18 months of searching, Miguel's tuition hanging in the balance, all of it condensed into this small piece of paper that now felt both weightless and impossibly heavy. "You're more important right now, Mr. Washington." The walk to the customer service counter took 15 minutes. Sarah stayed by Henry's side as they navigated the crowds, her phone buzzing incessantly with missed calls from her potential employer. Each buzz felt like a nail in the coffin of her future, but every time she looked at Henry's hopeful face, she knew she'd made the right choice. At the counter, Sarah learned that Henry had been traveling alone from his assisted living facility in Miami to visit his daughter Rebecca in Portland. His original flight had been delayed due to weather, causing him to miss his connection. The next available flight wasn't until tomorrow afternoon, too late for his grandson's birthday party. "Is there anything you can do?" Sarah asked the airline representative, a tired-looking woman named Janet whose name tag indicated she'd been working there for 15 years. "This is really important to his family." Janet's expression softened as she looked at Henry. "I'm sorry, but we're completely booked on all flights to Portland today. I can put him on tomorrow's 2 p.m. flight, but that's the best I can do." Sarah watched Henry's shoulders slump in defeat. She could practically see his heart breaking. Without hesitation, she pulled out her credit card, the one she'd been trying to pay down for months. "What about first class? Or another airline?" Janet checked her computer. "Southwest has one seat left on their 4 p.m. flight today, but it's $800. Sarah's stomach dropped. That was nearly her entire savings account. But looking at Henry's face, seeing the hope flickering back to life in his eyes, she knew what her father would have done. "Book it." Henry's eyes widened. "Oh no, dear, I can't let you do that. That's far too much money." "Mr. Washington, when's the last time you missed one of your grandson's birthdays?" "Never," he whispered. "In 7 years, I've never missed a single one, even when I got sick." "Then we're not starting now." As Janet processed the booking, Henry began to cry again, but this time from gratitude. "I don't understand why you're doing this for a complete stranger. You don't even know me." Sarah knelt beside his wheelchair again, taking his weathered hand in hers. "My grandfather always told me that strangers are just family we haven't met yet. Besides, 7-year-olds only turn 7 once." While they waited for Henry's new flight, Sarah learned his story. Henry Washington was a 78-year-old Korean War veteran who had worked as a high school principal for 35 years in Detroit before retirement. His wife Martha had passed away 3 years ago, and his daughter Rebecca had moved to Portland with her family shortly after. Henry had developed Parkinson's disease 2 years ago and moved into assisted living, but he'd saved every penny from his pension to visit his family regularly. "My grandson Tyler is obsessed with airplanes," Henry told Sarah with a smile. "Every time we video chat, he asks me to describe what it's like to fly. Today now, he's having an airplane-themed birthday party. Rebecca said he's been asking every day if Grandpa Henry is really coming." Sarah felt her phone buzz again. This time it was a text from Cloud Tech Solutions. "Ms. Martinez, we've had to reschedule your interview. Please call to confirm your availability next week." Her heart sank, but she quickly typed back a professional response confirming her availability. At least all wasn't completely lost. "You missed something important for me, didn't you?" Henry asked quietly, having noticed her distraction. Sarah hesitated, then decided honesty was the best policy. "A job interview. But they're willing to reschedule, so it's okay." "What kind of job?" "Marketing position at a tech company in Denver. I've been unemployed for 18 months, and I really need this job to help pay for my brother's college tuition." Henry nodded thoughtfully. "What's your brother studying?" "Pre-med. He wants to be a pediatric cardiologist. He's brilliant, graduated high school with a 4.0 GPA and got into University of Texas on partial scholarship. But we still need to cover the rest, and my parents can't help much. They're both working 2 jobs just to stay afloat." "And you've been supporting him?" "Trying to. I had some savings from my last job, but they're almost gone. This interview was kind of my last shot at making it work." Henry was quiet for a long moment, staring at his hands. "You know, Sarah, I spent 35 years watching young people chase their dreams. Some made it, some didn't. But the ones who made it weren't always the smartest or the most talented. They were the ones with the biggest hearts. When Henry's boarding time arrived, Sarah walked with him to the gate. His new flight was departing from gate C-15, which required a long trek through the terminal. But Sarah didn't mind, she found herself genuinely enjoying Henry's company. He told her stories about his teaching days, about the students who'd stayed in touch over the years, about the small town in Alabama where he'd grown up during the Great Depression. At the gate, Henry turned to Sarah with tears in his eyes. "I need you to give me your address so I can pay you back for the ticket. Mr. Washington, that was a gift. Please don't worry about it. Then at least give me your information so I can send you pictures from Tyler's party. I want you to see the joy you made possible." Sarah wrote down her email address on a piece of paper. As Henry's boarding group was called, he struggled to stand from his wheelchair to hug her goodbye. The embrace lasted longer than typical hugs between strangers, and Sarah found herself fighting back tears. "You remind me of my Martha," Henry whispered. "She had the same kind heart. The world needs more people like you, Sarah Martinez." Sarah stayed until Henry's plane pulled away from the gate. Only then did the full weight of her situation hit her. She was stuck in Chicago overnight, her savings account was nearly empty, and she'd have to find a way to afford a hotel room and a new flight to Denver for her rescheduled interview. But as she sat in the empty gate area, she felt something she hadn't experienced in months: peace. For the first time since losing her job, she felt like herself again, like the person her father had raised her to be. The next 3 days passed in a blur of interview preparation and anxiety. Sarah had managed to get a cheap hotel room near the airport and rebook her flight to Denver for the following Tuesday. The interview with Cloud Tech Solutions went well, but she tried not to get her hopes up. She'd been disappointed too many times before. On Friday evening, as Sarah sat in her small San Antonio apartment reviewing her dwindling bank account, her phone chimed with an email notification. The sender was someone named Rebecca Washington, and the subject line read, "Thank you from Tyler's birthday party." Sarah opened the email to find dozens of photos from a little boy's airplane-themed birthday party. Tyler Washington was indeed airplane-obsessed, wearing a pilot's costume and grinning from ear to ear in every single picture. But the photos that made Sarah's breath catch were the ones of Henry. He looked 20 years younger, surrounded by family, holding his grandson on his lap as Tyler excitedly showed him a model airplane. The email read, "Dear Sarah, my father told me what you did at the airport. I can't begin to express how grateful our entire family is for your kindness. Tyler had been asking about Grandpa Henry every single day for weeks, and seeing his face when my dad walked through our door was the most beautiful moment of my life. Dad hasn't stopped talking about you. He says you're an angel sent by my mother. I know you don't know us, but you've become part of our family story now. Please know that your kindness created memories we'll treasure forever. With endless gratitude, Rebecca Washington and family." Sarah was wiping tears from her eyes when her phone rang. The caller ID showed a Colorado area code. "Hello, is this Sarah Martinez?" The voice belonged to a woman with a professional but warm tone. "Yes, this is Sarah. This is Jennifer Chen, head of marketing at Cloud Tech Solutions. I'm calling to offer you the position we discussed in your interview." Sarah's heart stopped. "Really? Really? Your presentation was impressive, but what sealed the deal was your character reference." "My character reference? I didn't provide any references yet." Jennifer paused. "That's the interesting part. We received a call from someone named Henry Washington. He said he didn't know you professionally, but he wanted to tell us about the kind of person you are. He told us about what you did at the airport, how you sacrificed your original interview to help him. He said anyone with that much compassion and integrity would be an asset to any company." Sarah's mouth fell open. "Henry called you?" "He did. Apparently, he has some connections in the business world from his years as an educator. He mentioned that he knows our CEO from some charitable work they've done together. Sarah, in 15 years of hiring, I've never had someone call to recommend a candidate based purely on character. That tells me everything I need to know about you. After hanging up, Sarah immediately called Henry's daughter Rebecca, who laughed when Sarah asked how her father had tracked down Cloud Tech Solutions. Dad was a high school principal for 35 years, but he's also been on the board of directors for 3 different charitable organizations since retiring. He knows everyone in the education and business communities. When he sets his mind to helping someone, nothing stops him. 2 weeks later, Sarah received a package in the mail with no return address. Inside was a beautiful handwritten note from Henry and a check for exactly $800, the amount she'd spent on his airplane ticket. But there was something else in the package that made Sarah's eyes fill with tears. It was a small American flag pin, identical to the one Henry had been wearing that day at the airport. The note explained that it had belonged to his late wife Martha, who had always worn it on her volunteer shifts at the local veterans hospital. Henry's note read, "Dear Sarah, Martha always said that this pin should go to someone who understands what it means to serve others. You served me that day in the airport without expecting anything in return. That's the purest form of service there is. I hope you'll wear this pin and remember that kindness always comes back to you, even when you think no one is watching. Your friend always, Henry Washington." P.S. Tyler asks about his airplane angel every time we video chat. You're part of our family now. 6 months later, Sarah was thriving in her new position at Cloud Tech Solutions. She'd been able to catch up on Miguel's tuition payments, and her brother was excelling in his pre-med program. But the real joy came from her ongoing friendship with the Washington family. She and Henry exchanged emails every week, sharing stories about their lives and families. Sarah had even planned a trip to Portland to meet Tyler in person, who had insisted on showing her his ever-growing collection of model airplanes. But the most meaningful moment came when Sarah received her first performance bonus at work. Instead of keeping it all for herself, she used part of it to establish a small scholarship fund at Miguel's University for students studying medicine who demonstrated exceptional compassion and character. She named it the Martha Washington Memorial Scholarship, in honor of Henry's late wife. When she told Henry about the scholarship, he called her immediately, his voice thick with emotion. You know, Sarah, Martha always said that kindness is like a seed. You plant it not knowing what will grow, but trusting that something beautiful will come from it. You planted a seed that day in the airport, and look at all the lives it's touching now. The truth was, Sarah's life had been transformed far more than she transformed anyone else's. That moment of choosing compassion over convenience had reminded her of who she truly was, not just someone struggling to find work, but someone raised to see the humanity in others and respond with love. The Martha Washington pin became Sarah's daily reminder that we're all connected in ways we can't always see. Sometimes the person who needs help is actually the person offering it. Sometimes missing your flight leads you exactly where you need to go. And sometimes the most important interview you'll ever have isn't with a company, it's with your own conscience, asking whether you'll choose kindness when it costs you something. Every morning as Sarah pinned Martha's flag to her jacket, she thought about that day in Chicago O'Hare. She thought about Henry's trembling hands, Tyler's airplane party, and the choice that had seemed so difficult in the moment but had led to blessings she never could have imagined. She thought about Miguel, now on track to become the doctor he'd always dreamed of being. She thought about Henry, who had become like a grandfather to her, sharing wisdom and laughter across the miles. She thought about Tyler, who still called her his airplane angel and sent her drawings of jets and helicopters every month. Most of all, she thought about her father's words, "Sometimes God puts people in our path not to test them, but to test us." That day at the airport, Sarah had passed the most important test of her life. She'd learned that when you choose kindness, even when it costs you everything you think you want, life has a way of giving you everything you actually need. The seed Martha had talked about, the one planted in a moment of compassion between strangers, had grown into something bigger than Sarah ever imagined. It had grown into a family across state lines, a scholarship helping future doctors, a job that fulfilled her professionally and personally, and most importantly, a reminder that in a world that often feels cold and disconnected, choosing love over fear will always lead you home. As Henry liked to say in his emails, kindness is never wasted, dear Sarah. It just sometimes takes a while to find its way back to you. If this story touched your heart, imagine how many other beautiful moments of human kindness happen every single day around the world. From the person who holds an elevator to the stranger who helps change a tire, compassion is alive and well in our communities. Take a moment to think about the Henrys and Sarahs in your own life, the people who have shown you unexpected kindness, and the opportunities you've had to brighten someone else's day. These connections remind us that despite what we see in the headlines, goodness still thrives when we choose to see it and share it. If Sarah's story inspired you to believe in the power of human kindness, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to Pure Kindness Stories for more true tales of compassion that will restore your faith in humanity. Share this story with someone who needs a reminder that there are still good people in this world doing beautiful things when no one is watching. Remember, you never know when you might be someone's Henry or someone's Sarah. The choice to stop running toward your own plans and start walking alongside someone else's needs might just change both of your lives forever. Until next time, keep choosing kindness. The world needs your heart.